What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Peter Parkour.
And I'm the real Jussy, and we are the Distorted Theorists.
I'm not going to say it. We just came out of The Flash.
Oh, man.
So
I wish we could talk about some things, but we can't. But
before we get into it, we gotta do our spiel.
Yeah,
We're here at Cineplex St. John's. We just came out of the first showing of The Flash. We just came out of IMAX. Mr. Speedy Gonzalez here is doing his thing. And
there was even a Batman cosplayer in the audience, which was really cool. Made the experience just a little bit more.
He was there with, I'm assuming, his daughter, or at least some small
family member,
some small family member,
girl,
and it was adorable. But beyond that,
The Flash.
Yes, we're not here to talk about cosplayers, even though we love them. We're here to talk about the movie.
Yeah. What do you think? Give me your thoughts.
Okay. So
start with good.
We're gonna start with the good. It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. You've heard me talk about it before, and I know people are going to come from me like, you said the same thing about Ezra Miller, but you never said the same thing about Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Whatever. Bygones be bygones. Whatever about Ezra Miller's past and everything like that, we're just going to leave that as it is. But for whatever, in terms of the story, in terms of the action, it was there.
Comedy hit.
But see, that was what I was expecting it was, because again, this was from the director Paul Muschietti, I believe. He's been touted to be like a comic book director, and this movie did play out like a comic book. You've heard me in our previous review of the Batman saying that how much this movie felt like I was in a comic book.
Yeah.
That was a graphic novel. This felt like a comic book.
And I felt like they definitely stayed true to the character that was already built up in the Justice League movies and in the other DCEU. I do feel like the movie does give you that closure of the DCEU. It's leaning that way. Ezra Miller still showing as the Flash. I loved everything about it. I told Peter as we went in there, I'm a huge Flash. Probably my favorite DC character. I know that may be a strange one for some. I watched, like I said in our videos, I watched the CW one. I just love the character. I love, is he the most cool? Maybe not, but I do enjoy all of his powers and all that stuff. So I really like
People
that.
like to come for me when I say he just runs fast, but it's the same thing as saying Batman, he's got a lot of money. So it's just
which they actually joke about in this movie, I do believe.
It's very easy to generalize.
I will say, let's switch over to the negative. A little something I didn't enjoy. I did feel like the humor was leaned on a little, almost too much, although it was good. It was almost foolish is the word I would like to use.
Was it Love and Thunder?
It was, a little bit. But like, I understand why they used the comedy, because the Flash was built up as a comical character, but I felt like the seriousness of this movie, which is in the trailers about his parents and the mother and all that, you almost didn't build up the sympathy enough because they were hitting you with a comedy before. Yeah, so I didn't really. Now, I will say, there's some moments in the movie in regards to the same thing that almost made me tear up. I'm not going to say that either. But I wish they toned the comedy back when it needed to be serious. Let it breathe a little bit, What do you think?
I agree with that. It's something that really was jarring for me in terms of this movie. Like, I did appreciate the humor that was in it. Like you mentioned, there was a part of it where it was like, oh, this is such a serious moment, and he fell on his face.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But the part of it that really kind of, and it's hard to do because it is a comic book movie.
Yeah.
But
you're going to use those three letters, aren't you?
The amount of CGI in this movie is just like
ridiculous.
It is insane, and it's getting to a part because with the camera angles that they're doing and the shots, that there's no way they could actively recreate this. But there's parts of this movie that's actually kind of, I understand what they were doing with this and the kind of motif that they went for. I'm not going to spoil anything for it, but it's very jarring when you see it and you're looking at something and you're thinking that is complete CGI, and they didn't. It's not that they didn't do anything to fix it. It was like that there couldn't be, so it just sticks out.
You actually stopped mid-movie. You tapped me on the shoulder and you were like, "See that CGI?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I didn't at the time." But once he pointed out to me, and you have a bit more experience with the CGI, seeing things,
you couldn't stop seeing.
Yeah, I couldn't stop seeing it. Now I do realize, like you said, it's the Flash. He has to move faster, has to be time warps and all this other jazz that they have to use CGI for. It was fine that way, but some of it was just like, really, like you couldn't just touch it a little bit.
This 15-minute CGI sequence probably could have been 4.
Yeah, but also I want to say there was a part in the very beginning. I mean, it's not a spoiler. He's running fast in the beginning. I got a little like whoa in my seat. Did you notice that? It was right at the beginning of the movie. You'll know when you see it. I thought that was really cool.
You did the same thing in Avatar: Way of Water.
Yeah, when it went we got that butterfly something. So I got that again. But on the whole, I mean, the movie itself, you gotta go see it. It's definitely a good Flash movie, as we knew from the trailers. We got to see Michael Keaton. How was that for you? I know you were excited to see that.
It's the only Flash movie. in terms of Michael Keaton, getting to see him as my Batman was very cool. Getting to see. The unfortunate thing is the trailers ruined it.
Yeah.
Really,
it almost would have been better to keep that secret.
Well, we knew that he was going to be in it because it was rumored for casting forever, and then there was the shots and everything that came out. But unfortunately, if you've seen the trailers, a lot of the stuff that you've seen of Batman in this with Michael Keaton, you've seen it.
But
it's still good. You just get to see an extended version.
But you know what? That's not a harp on the Flash movie as a negative review, because all movies, I find, do that these days with trailers. And in the business we're in of the Distorted Theories and this YouTube channel, you all would know we have to watch trailers to react to them. So unfortunately, they do leak too much in those. I wish we scaled that back a little bit. Let's talk about Kara Zor-El. New introduction. I'm going to super apologize because I don't know the actress's name offhand.
I don't know either. I know that she was in a soap opera.
Yeah, but what do you think of her performance? I love the way that they kind of introduce her differently than I thought she was going to show up.
Because of the timeline and everything that we know is everything that's going on. It was interesting the way that they introduced her. It was cool to see her operate as a super person.
Yep.
I don't know if she goes by Supergirl or Superwoman.
Well, there may be a nod. There may be a nod.
I don't believe so.
There was a nod. I'm just not going to spoil it for anyone.
Oh, there's other nods.
Yeah. There's a literal name nod. Speaking of nod, General Zod, Michael Shannon was back. That was pretty cool as well. From the Man of Steel. I mean, like, just again, you know me, I love my callbacks. I say that all the time on the channel. But seeing this in action, seeing him back as Zod was just, I just loved something about going back. And,
here's where people are going to come for me.
Yeah.
I liked Man of Steel. I didn't like it until I rewatched it about a year and a half ago, and then I got an appreciation of how it really
ages
what
well.
Zack Snyder did for his own Snyderverse. You go back and you watch Batman versus Superman director's cut or the extended edition, where all the stuff that was taken out of it and it led into it, and then the Snyder cut of Justice League. It just really lends something. So that's why I appreciate the Man of Steel that much more. So get to see that footage put back into it and see an alternate version of it was very cool. So seeing Kara as part of that was seeing the suit, seeing the battle.
Suit was badass, by the way. Even though we've seen it in trailers, seeing it in the movie was even more badass.
And she takes a different approach than our boy Cal.
Yeah.
And I was hoping to see some Henry.
Small spoiler, no Henry. We do want to say, and we're definitely not going to spoil none, you need to stick into this movie till the absolute end, because I literally almost came into my seat at one part.
There's a couple of callbacks that you would not expect to see from anything. I cursed right out loud.
You cried.
Yeah.
There was a part, and it was not an emotional sad way.
It was just an absolute shock.
It was an absolute gobsmacking moment. Multiple, they hit you with it kind of, and that's all we can really say. Stick around. Do not leave early if you think you don't like the movie, because the last 15 minutes is enough to just keep you in that seat. There is one end credit scene. There is no mid credit scene. Might want to stay to the end. It's a nice little nod, ties everyone back together, so make sure you stick around for that as well. But in the end, before we let everyone go, final thoughts.
I think, and there's been stuff coming out about, and there's rumors about what people are saying. They're saying it was fake, that this is the best superhero movie ever. There's stuff been talking about Tom Cruise has been talking to the special effects team and saying all that stuff. If this is truly the end of the Snyderverse DCEU, what a way to do it. Now, I know we still have Aquaman 2, which is probably going to be the end of it. We do know that Blue Beetle is going to be the first character of the DCU, but the first movie of the DCU is going to be Superman Legacy. But in terms of the legit Snyder version of something that was built up, this was a nice send-off.
If this is the way they close the book, I think I'd be okay with it.
And again, I keep coming back to this. There's still Aquaman 2.
Yeah.
But that's a different story.
Yeah. So I guess we'll take it. We might not see Ezra Miller on screen as the Flash again in a full capacity. Maybe a cameo, but not Think this is it? Could be the swan song, and if so, I mean, I'm happy with this version of the Flash that we got. I mean, we're always going to get new versions of superheroes, new actors, new actresses, which is completely fun because everyone gets their unique take on it, and we always get to reset, refresh, and go, this is the character I want to see on screen. Maybe you pick a new favorite, maybe you go back to the old ones like Michael Keaton, and so on and so forth. But without further ado, thank you so much for joining us on the channel today for our review for The Flash. As always, if you could hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, we do appreciate it. And with that, I am the real Jussy.
I am Peter Parkour, and like we always say around here,
Keep it real.